All right, I'm just going to say this right off the top. This one goes out to my devoted Twitter follower, Jonathan, who under almost all my tweets for the past 6 months has asked for a Micah Parsons YouTube review. And I feel like I got to reward that kind of dedication. Plus, Micah Parsons is just a fun player to watch. So let's look at some Micah Parsons. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year, second place in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Someone who plays both off the edge and off ball. So let's see how much he does each of those things. How good is he at both of those things? What does his bag of pass rushing moves off the edge look like? And how does his rookie season compare to rookie seasons of the past? Is it maybe the best one that we have seen of this era? I think it might be. So let's get right into it. Following Dallas's Week 1 loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in the week leading up to the Chargers game, DeMarcus Lawrence got hurt. And for the first time since he was in high school, in the second game of his pro career, Micah Parsons had to drop down and play as an edge rusher for the Dallas Cowboys. Completely inexperienced in this area. Again, hadn't done it for years and years and years since high school. And this play might not look like anything. I think it was blown dead even in the middle of it. All right, everybody stops. But this play got me super excited about Parsons as an edge rusher because it displayed his traits. Look at his ankle as he plants his foot right here. He should be out for the season at this point. Okay, that looks rough. But instead, he does lose his balance a little bit. But look at how low he gets to the ground. Look at where his right ankle is at. And notice how he maintains his balance through all of this. His right shoulder is below Storm Norton's waist, and he is still able to survive a push from Norton and not hit the ground. If this was a live play, Herbert would certainly be bothered by Parsons on this play. And bend is one of the most important things you can have for an edge rusher. When you get a guy in this situation and he doesn't hit the ground, that's elite bend. It's something that made TJ Watt great, the ghost technique, just dipping his shoulder. It's what's made Von Miller great all these years. And it's something that, even though this play is blown dead, it's something that Micah Parsons is exhibiting right there. And here's what that can look like, not only as an edge rusher, but as a traditional off-ball linebacker like he's playing here. And the Buccaneers, this is week 1 obviously, are going to have a zone run, everyone on the offensive line stepping in the same direction. And just looking at this, it seems like Parsons would be responsible for this B gap. We got number 93 in the C gap, and then we got some defensive backs who are going to come flying on off the edge here. But I'm not sure quite what's going on because 93 is going to immediately step in and flow and get into this B gap along with Parsons. So you've kind of got two people in the same place here, which prompts Fournette to cut this back. And once he bounces this outside, it's pretty unrealistic to expect Parsons to be able to work his way through these guys and get there and be able to make the tackle. But again, the bend comes in, and the ability to dip his shoulder, the ability to step on an ankle from an impossible angle, right, and drop his hips makes it so that he can just dip, pop back up, and make the play here. Again, 90% of guys, when they plant their foot like that, are losing their balance, they're slipping, they don't have that kind of flexibility, but Micah Parsons does. And what might be even more impressive is that it wasn't all traits, it wasn't all tools, there was some nuance to some of these rushes. Like this play here, this is all advanced hand fighting to get past Storm Norton, collapse the pocket, and force this inaccurate pass from Herbert. Let's go back, right? Gets to the edge, gets to the outside shoulder, chops that elbow, that's a pressure point, brings his hands down, then the swim move to get his right arm over, then he rips and dips, and you see the ankles again in a really flexible position on his toes. His shoulders are so low, way lower than Storm Norton's shoulders, and as you know, the low man wins, and he's able to dip, get low, set his hips towards the quarterback, and then you see the closing speed to close this gap, and again, you put this ball out here, maybe this is a touchdown. If he's got all the time in the world, that's probably what happens when you're dealing with Justin Herbert. But when you've got Micah Parsons hunting you down, it's easy to be a little bit inaccurate. So maybe a touchdown-saving play from him, and I get that Storm Norton is not a good tackle. I've said it before. But again, this move is not some sloppy-ass move from a guy who is just starting out edge rushing. Like, that's advanced. and he beats that guy in a quarter of a second. And I really do get it if beating Storm Norton doesn't move you, but here he is against one of the best tackles in the league, Tristan Wirfs, and he's going to hit a really nuanced and difficult move to accomplish, that inside spin move, and he's right in Brady's lap and forcing a quick throw that is nowhere close to catchable. And you see the technique that goes into this. First of all, selling really vertical right up the field to soften that inside shoulder. You've got the chip help, Giovanni Bernard, and he times this up just right so Giovanni lunges, and there's no one there to lunge with because he just perfectly timed up that spin move. You see the hands, right? That chop hitting the inside elbow of Wirfs. That's that pressure point again, leaning into him and knocking him backwards. And it's all that into one quick fluid motion that forces that incomplete pass. To put this in perspective, think about this. Kayvon Thibodeaux was the #1 edge recruit coming out of high school, the #1 recruit overall, played edge his entire career at Oregon and was drafted in the top 5 as an elite blue chip prospect by the New York Giants. You would be happy to see plays like this from Kayvon Thibodeaux like a handful of times towards the back end of his rookie season. We don't expect to see it right away. These are some advanced stuff that he still has to learn. All right. Parsons came in as an off-ball linebacker. This is a new position for him and was doing it immediately. He was flashing these plays immediately. Didn't take him any time at all. Here's one more pass rush rep I'm going to show against Orlando Brown of the Chiefs. Huge guy, gets off the ball with a lot of speed, and in his set, you see Orlando Brown's feet kind of click together there. He's got to run backwards because of the speed of Parsons and kind of get into this a little rushed. And when he fires his hands, his feet are not really planted in the ground. At any rate, he does deliver the first blow here, right to Parsons' shoulder. That would be enough to, I think, stun or slow down or bother some edge rushers in the league. Parsons acts like he didn't even feel it, and he's able to just absorb that, work his arm under Brown's, dip his shoulder, point his hips towards Mahomes, and get the sack. Here we've got the almighty pass rush win rate chart. This chart won Aaron Donald the Defensive Player of the Year a couple years ago, and who is #1 in terms of pass rush win rate? It's Micah Parsons. And it wasn't against like soft offensive line attention either. His double team rate, also one of the highest in the league. You could argue he was the most efficient edge rusher in the entire league based on this chart. And he wasn't even supposed to be an edge rusher. He was supposed to be an off-ball linebacker. And he was so effective as an edge rusher. I feel like most people think that's all he did this year. That's not true. I think a lot of people might be under the impression that he started as an off-ball linebacker, and then when the Cowboys realized they had a great edge rusher on their hands, they stuck him there, and that's how he was able to have 13 sacks or whatever this season. No. He only played full-time edge rusher in 4 games this year. You see those snaps as edge rusher in blue. It was weeks 2, 3, 11, and 12. In those 4 weeks, he had 4.5 sacks, 13 quarterback hits, and 6 tackles for loss. You extrapolate those numbers over a full 17-game season, you'd be looking at 19 sacks, 55 quarterback hits, and 26 tackles for loss. Micah Parsons got to the quarterback so much this year. He got there 30 times, according to Pro Football Reference. Von Miller, his high in his whole career is 32 quarterback hits. Micah Parsons had 30, not even playing as an edge rusher full time. A quarter of the season he's where he played there. So the question that you probably have after seeing that data is, well then, Theo, how is he as a traditional off-ball linebacker, if that's where he primarily plays? You've been talking about him as an edge rusher the whole time. He's pretty damn good at being an off-ball linebacker as well. Going back to game 1, we got the Bucs running what looks like duo to me, 2 quick downhill double teams on these defensive tackles, and what that's going to do is open up the A gap right up the middle. And as a linebacker, you got to punish them for double teaming your defensive tackles. What you got to do is either force them to disengage and block you and make this a one-on-one again, or you got to be quick enough to just bypass the offensive lineman entirely and just shoot the gap. And Parsons is reacting really quickly to this, and he's just fast enough that this disengaging center, Ryan Jensen, can't reach him. And he's plugged up this gap, and Fournette has to bounce this outside. He can't make the tackle because Fournette is running away from him. So what he's going to do is just run right into Gronk, who's blocking his defensive end, and that helps his defensive end get free, and his teammates can make the tackle. So, doesn't look like much, but I really liked watching this from Micah Parsons as a traditional linebacker in his very first game early in the game. Quick instincts and game IQ. I remember the Viking game being pretty good for him. On this play, they're going to run like a clear out with Jefferson. That's going to take the corner. It's going to take the safety too because it's Justin Jefferson. And that creates this little bubble for Alexander Mattison. We know that all these four are probably rushing, and that makes it a one-on-one between the linebacker and the running back. And you would usually bet on the running back to win that, break a tackle, and pick up a nice chunk play for the offense. Vikings were betting on that a lot in this game. And Micah Parsons was making him pay for it because he was not letting anybody break an open field tackle. Similar situation here. You got Dalvin Cook way out there. Micah Parsons is out there as well. You got two wide receivers to block two defensive backs, and then you're just hoping your running back can shake the linebacker Micah Parsons. But Micah Parsons is fast, sorts his way through the junk, and brings down Dalvin Cook after a short gain. The Vikings have still not learned their lesson late in the third quarter here. They're going to bring CJ Ham in, work him across the formation, and work with play action front side, attacking Micah Parsons, but he doesn't really fall for this play action. His eyes are locked on CJ Ham. He knows something's up. He's shuffling laterally, following CJ Ham. Van Der Esch is in the way. Get out of the way and let me cook Van Der Esch. And he closes his gap and makes the tackle behind line of scrimmage once again. Again, big enough, physical enough to tackle these fullbacks and power runners like Alexander Mattison, quick enough with enough bend to be a 13-sack guy, and he's good enough in coverage. That was his big weakness coming out of Penn State, to not be a net negative in that area, that's for sure. I don't think he's Fred Warner back there right now, but he's certainly not a liability, and I think as time goes on, he's going to get better in that area. So a fantastic, well-rounded player, and as far as I can tell, had the best rookie season defensively since the turn of the century. I wrote it all down. Here are all the players who've won Defensive Rookie of the Year as a pass rusher in the 21st century. Parsons has more sacks than all of them. Parsons has more tackles for loss than all of them. And I'm not sure the pressure rate for every single player here, but I'm willing to bet Parsons has a better pressure rate than all of them. And that's translated pretty well, because a lot of the names on this list are multiple-time first-team All-Pros and future Hall of Famers. And again, I'm not even sure if I would call him a pass rusher. So he had the best rookie season of any pass rusher since the turn of the century without really even being a full-time pass rusher. It's crazy. And I don't really see where regression hits with him. It's not like he had like kind of a low pressure rate and a high sack rate like Chase Young last year, although Chase Young's sack rate wasn't even that high. He had a really high pressure rate. In fact, you could say you would expect even more sacks based on where his pressure rate was. It's incredible. And the longer he stays in the league, the faster he's going to be able to react to things, the better he's going to get in coverage. So you think of like what he's going to look like as a seasoned veteran the next 6, 7, 8 years. I think he's going to build a Hall of Fame resume. I don't know what's stopping him. He was second in Defensive Player of the Year voting this year. And if I had a vote, I would have voted for TJ Watt because I think breaking the sack record is too historic of an accomplishment not to reward with that. But if he didn't break the sack record, I probably would have given it to Micah Parsons. I mean, he was, in most other years, a Defensive Player of the Year, his rookie season. That's crazy. And the only guys who are capable of doing that, I think, are going to end up to go on to be all-time greats. And he's going to be one, provided that he doesn't run into off-the-field issues. I know he had a couple of those at Penn State, provided he stays healthy. He's as good as he wants to be. So that's my review on Micah Parsons. I know it's been much asked for. And again, more reviews that you want to see, let me know, and I will file them away. I'm always looking for ideas, as I always say at the end of these things. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week with another review.